Dear friends, we are looking at Abraham's journey of faith. One of the promises that God made to Abraham, which we read in Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 to 3, is this, and you shall be a blessing. Now it's interesting, God promised him many blessings, but then God turns the table, as it were, and says, and you shall be a blessing. I believe it is a great privilege not only to be blessed by the Lord, but to be a blessing to other people. You remember the other day I spoke about Abraham rescuing Lot and his family. And on the way back, two things happened. The first thing is that he is blessed by Melchizedek, the king of Salem. And in chapter 14, verses 17 onwards, his story is told. Now it says in verse 18, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. Now he was a priest of God Most High. He blessed him and said, Blessed be Abraham of God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And then it says, Abraham gave a tenth of everything to Melchizedek, who was the priest of God. Now here is a precedent that Abraham is setting for us. Abraham selflessly went to rescue his nephew Lot with 318 of the young men who grew up in his home, and brings him back. And with it, he defeated the four kings who attacked Sodom and Gomorrah. And it seems like they gained enormous war booty. And when Melchizedek, the priest of the Most High God, greets Abraham with bread and wine and blesses him, Abraham gives him a tenth of everything that he had to Melchizedek. That's an amazing thing. We must express our gratitude to God in all the material blessings that we receive from the Lord, that we need to also give back to the Lord. It's not that God himself is going to use it, because God is the sovereign Lord, is the maker of the heaven and earth. He does not need anything from our hand. But when we give it back to the Lord, as it were, it's a sign that we are not consumed by our material desires, but rather we are willing to use it in a manner that would honor God and please him. And that is what we do. Whenever we give a tenth of our income, whenever we bless people who are going through difficulties, we are actually saying our resources are at the disposal of God, and it shall be used for God's purpose. That is what Abraham is very clearly demonstrating here. When this happened, it says in verse 21 of chapter 14, the king of Sodom said to Abraham, give the people to me and take the goods for yourself. Wow, he is acting like a very generous-hearted man. Perhaps when he saw the generosity of Abraham, he must have felt convicted. But this is Abraham's response. Abraham said to the king of Sodom, I have sworn to the Lord, God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take a thread of a sandal thong, or anything that is yours, for fear you would say, I have made Abraham rich. Then he says, I will take nothing except what the young men have eaten, and the share of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their share. When the king of Sodom, he was not a righteous man, he was rather a wicked man, because he was presiding over a kingdom that was exceedingly wicked. Later on we find that Sodom and Gomorrah was practiced sexual immorality, and God had to destroy this place. Abraham discerned that these men are not righteous men. Although he rescued his nephew Lot, who is living among them, Abraham maintained his integrity and his righteous before these men. And when the king of Sodom said, you can take all the booty, war booty, and only just give me back my men, Abraham said, I have sworn to the Most High God with my uplifted hand that I will take nothing from you. In other words,